Do we have everybody for Committee of the Whole? Okay, is everybody ready? Okay, do we have everybody present? Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Alderman Bolton.
Present.
Guzman.
Present.
Martinez.
Present.
Felix.
Present.
Newsom.
Present.
Turner.
Present.
Donnaworth.
Present.
Florian.
Present.
Hayes.
Present.
Mayor Taylor.
Present.
You have a quorum, ma'am.
Thank you. We're calling the meeting to order at 5:37. Can I have a first and a second on a motion to approve the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes from Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024?
First.
First
Second.
was Alderman Donnerworth, second was who? Alderman Felix. So a motion to approve the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes from Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024. Any questions to the motion? Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Alderman Bolton. Guzman.
Aye.
Martinez.
Aye.
Felix.
Aye.
Newsom.
Aye.
Turner.
Aye.
Donnaworth.
Aye.
Florian.
Aye.
Hayes.
Aye.
Motion passed, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any audience time? Okay, go on up.
Clyde McLemore, Black Lives Matter, Lake County. An honorary street sign should be just what it says, honorary. To be honored, it doesn't come with a price. In every major city in America, there's a Dr. King honorary street. In Louisville, Kentucky, there's a Muhammad Ali. In Baltimore, Maryland, there's a Billie Holiday honorary street. An honorary street celebrates a person who has made Waukegan great. I name these cities with different people because none of their families are paying a bill for them to have these street names. When you ask the family to pay $300 for a year, what you are doing is selling signs, and since they get to pay every year, you're just renting spaces of people. If a person or group makes a mark in the city should honor them, such as Dr. Lacey. She made a mark until the day she died. Robert Evans, the first black alderman and the work he did in the First Ward. There should be honorary signs for Eddie Washington, who with the work he did as the first black state rep. The money and the programs he brought to the city, he paid for with his work. Black Lives Matter was nominated. Lake County, Black Lives Matter Lake County was nominated for the highest honors, and we was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. Even though we didn't win, it was an honor to be recognized on the world level. We didn't pay for people who saw that, nominated us. That was just because of the work we did in the Jacob Blake controversy in Kenosha. Again, I say if you're renting signs, stop calling them honorary signs.
Okay. On to old business.
Before we move to old business, can we, I'd like to put a motion in to put in 4A under new business in front of it all. And listen to that one first.
Is that a motion?
So, Mayor,
Yes.
that's a motion to adjust the order of the agenda, to move 4A, an
Yep.
ordinance amending various provisions of Waukegan Liquor Control Ordinance and Ordinance 18046 regarding Class C licenses.
Second, I'll second it.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
That was the first by Alderman Guzman, second by Alderman Martinez. Is that correct?
Are we allowed to ask questions or no?
Yes. Yes.
Alderman Bolton.
There were questions to the motion. Mayor.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
So can I ask why it's something like this needs to be moved ahead of stuff that's been waiting weeks, months to be discussed?
It's a priority. It's a liquor, it's a liquor ordinance has been way overdue in the city. So this is a first step into moving the city forward. And instead of lasting for another 5-6 months, let's move it forward, listen it today, and move forward.
Oh, okay, so what is the change? Why is it so urgent that it move ahead of other stuff?
Well, I also have a business in my ward that wants to move along with this.
I guess my question is, aren't we going to read everything? We're not negating any of this, right?
Is it because they haven't been able to open? That's what you want to do?
No, because they have to have a liquor license for here.
Yeah,
What-
they just have to, they're going to sell and somebody else is going to take over.
Do roll call.
Corporate Counsel, would you like to discuss this? Because not everybody understands what this change is.
So are we ready to discuss this? I don't believe we haven't voted on the motion to move it up on the agenda yet. So were there any other questions to that motion? Okay, so that's, Mayor, if you want to keep recognizing people on that, or if you'd like to have a vote on that motion.
Let's do the vote on the motion because I think some people want to move it up, some don't, so let's just do the vote.
Once again, the motion is to just move this up, move item 4A up in the agenda above old business.
I had a question as to,
Sure.
can you explain why we need to move it up ahead of everything else?
Well, we don't have to move it up. This is just a request that's being made by Alderman Guzman because he says that there's a business that
I'm
this
sorry, Mayor, I
affects.
can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Okay. So we don't have to move it up. Alderman Guzman is just saying that he has a business that wants to have this moved up because they're selling the business. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to even approve the motion. So it's up to you if you want to hear it first or you want to hear it later. It's up to you. It depends how much time we have tonight to get things done.
And that's why he wants to move it up, if I may, Mayor, because this matter is time sensitive to the business. The current owner is in process of selling, so he and his wife can retire. And the new owner is in kind of limbo as to the status of the transfer of the license. So we've seen repeatedly that things come up on the agenda for committee of the whole, and they take forever. They've already been waiting
Well, my
quite a while.
question
And
is-
that's, I'm just saying, that's why Alderman Guzman made the
But I think
request.
to clear, they have to come in and transfer the liquor license. So if I'm understanding correct, Corporate Counsel, this is saying that if you have an existing business and you're selling it, you would pay a $500 fee, but you would continue to have your license without having to come to City Council.
I don't, Mayor, I just want to say, we probably don't want to, if we want to debate the merits of the proposal, then the city council should consider it. If the majority want to go in the order of the agenda, then we'll go in the order of the agenda.
Okay, so the motion is to move it up on the agenda. So roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
Alderman Guzman.
Aye.
Alderman Martinez.
Aye.
Alderman Felix.
Aye.
Alderman Newsom.
Nay.
Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Alderman Donnerworth.
All right.
Alderman Florian.
No.
Alderman Hayes.
No.
Motion
Okay, so
passed, ma'am.
Passes, okay. So, we will, this is an ordinance, so it needs a first and a second before we can have a discussion. So can I have a first and a second to it?
I'll make the first.
Second.
Alderman Turner, and second is Alderman Guzman. Now there's discussion to this, and I'll have corporate counsel go over the slide on that.
Yeah, it's, okay, thank you very much. All right, so Alderman Guzman had reached out, and he had asked for amendments to various provisions of the Waukegan Liquor Code, and also to Ordinance 18046. That's the ordinance that created the C1 licenses and also put a cap on the number of C1 licenses. If we could go to the next slide, please. Okay, so just as a summary, and Alderman Guzman may want to tweak how I'm expressing some of these things, maybe not communicating them exactly in the way that he was looking for, but basically, the first provision that he wanted to add was to change Section 3-14. 3-14 is a very common provision that many communities have that says when a license is revoked, relinquished, or expires on its own terms, that the number of available licenses in that class is reduced by 1. The reason for this is that, in general, if someone comes in and qualifies for a license and meets all the qualifications, whether the city council thinks it's a good idea to have a license in that place or not, the city is very limited in its ability to tell someone no. However, the city can put a limit not only on the total number of liquor licenses that are available, but on the number of liquor licenses that are available in each class. So for instance, you have Class A licenses. You're going to say we only want to have 30 of those. And if one of those 30 goes out of business, under law, there are only 29 available. What that means is that every single time someone wants to come in to have a new liquor license, they have to come before you as the city council to create a new license. When a license applicant comes before you, they're not asking you to grant the license. They're saying make a Class A, Class F, Class C, whatever, available, and if I qualify, I can get it. What Alderman Guzman is asking is that if you have a license that is in good standing, a business that doesn't have violations, and a bona fide purchaser acquires that property, that they would not have to come back before the city council to have a new license created. The idea with this is that you have a place where the city council is already allowing sales of liquor, and if you have a qualifying purchaser, that they would not need to ask for special permission to create a new license. I would note one thing. Many people think that we transfer licenses. We don't transfer liquor licenses. No more than you can transfer your driver's license to your brother, or that you could transfer well, a driver's license is probably the best analogy that I can give. It is a personal privilege that is not something that can be transferred. So every time you have a new business, even in the same location, we create a new license number, and then the city council has to make sure that there is a license available. That's the first thing that Alderman Guzman has asked. He has also asked that we, and I was incorrect in my interpretation of this about the fee. Alderman Guzman wanted to make sure that if someone did not have to go through city council, that there would be actually an extra fee that would be added on, basically a convenience fee, since they would not have to go through the full city council process of $500. That's something that we could definitely add in if you want to. And then finally, on the specific C1 licenses. C1 licenses were a license class that was created in 2018, taking former B1 licenses for gas stations that sold liquor, and said that the city, because they were a unique business, there were only going to be 7 of those that were available. No more could be created, and they could not be transferred. What Alderman Guzman is asking is that we allow transfers of C1 licenses. So if a operator of a gas station that has a C1 license sells that license to a purchaser who also qualifies for a liquor license, that they be allowed to actually have that, and that C1 license does not automatically amortize down. That's those are the various components of this, and let's go through.
Stu?
Yeah, we can go through each element of this. There's slides for each of this, but that's my best summary.
Can I ask a question? I think
Alderman Felix?
I want to make sure that we correct the part where you mentioned that where there's a limit, and then when one expires, then the limit goes down. I don't think we had a consensus and to add that into this thing here. I want to make sure that Alderman Guzman, he said the same thing. I don't remember. I remember it was mentioned, but we weren't in agreement to add it to here.
Right, so that was kind of how the only way that I could actually figure out how to handle, since we don't transfer licenses, what I created an exception to that rule as a draft. This is something that you're only considering in committee of the whole right now, is that this would be an exception to that rule. And it would be an exception only if someone bought a licensed premises in good standing, they qualified, and they applied within 1 month after acquiring the business, that automatic reduction would not kick in, but only in that circumstance. That was the way that I kind of solved the issue that Alderman Guzman had asked to be addressed.
Alderman Guzman?
Okay, so here's the thing. I think, okay, if you're in good standing, you don't get excessive police calls. We don't have issues with you. There's no problems with you whatsoever. You're being a good provider of that holder of that liquor license. You should not, if you sell that if you sell your business to somebody else who wants to do exactly the same thing, you should not have to wait 3-4 months for the city council. You should get it automatically, get your convenience fee, $250, $500, whatever it is, and then be on your way. The people that I want up here in front are the people that are giving problems to the city. Those excessive phone calls, the garbage all over the streets, the overdoses, the firemen have to keep getting called because they're over intoxicated. I want to see those people. Those are the people I want to see up here. But the people that are following the rules, I don't want to see them up here. I would say thank you, have a good day, be on your way.
Okay, I have a couple things on that, and then Alderman Hayes has a question. But one, we don't generally find a liquor license they would be asked to clean up their garbage and they would have a citation. But that doesn't affect them getting a liquor license, okay?
But I want to see those people that are getting those excessive police calls. Those are the people I want to deal with. I don't want to deal with the people that are doing their job and they're holding their liquor license correctly.
But if they sell it to someone else that you know nothing about, how do you know that they're going to be in good standing?
Well, then that's when we deal with it. Okay. Not to the new peers. But if you pass your background checks, I mean, what does the city do now? Pass the background checks and does what the state says. And then comes up here, we ask questions, and then we grant it.
And then it costs us thousands of dollars to go after people when they don't comply.
You don't know what the licensee is going to be.
Right.
You don't know. All you know is that they passed the background check and fit fingerprints and everything like that. That's all you know.
Well, you often know more. Alderman Hayes?
Couple of points. The mayor, you just made the first point, which is, Alderman Guzman, I think you're talking about the sellers, and we're most concerned with the buyers in this instance. The sellers are getting out of the business, so it's the buyers that we're the most concerned with. So the history at the property, while a concern, we're more interested to hear from how the buyers are going to fix it, which is why we probably want them to come before us. I'm not necessarily opposed to your idea here. However, I'm confused as to what problem we're solving for. So I'm not entirely sure why we're going through this process, and I think my biggest concern is I want to make sure that the application process is the same, just as rigorous. We still have an opportunity to go through and approve the applicant. So before we get to that, because that was going to be my question, I guess, help me understand why we're doing this.
It takes such a long time to get a liquor license. It takes 3 to 4 months to get a liquor license here because it has to go through city council. And then, unless the staff wants to push it through, then it goes back that same day and same time, whether it's in a different committee or not. But if an alderman wants to help out a business and get their liquor license, it takes 3 to 4 months. And that is wrong. If that business is in good standing, no excessive police calls, no problems whatsoever, and that business sells it to somebody else, they should have a right to sell it, and that it shouldn't take 3 months or 4 months to do any of it.
I agree. Maybe it shouldn't take that long, but it seems to me that if they know that it takes that long, whether that's right or wrong, and someone's coming in to purchase the building or purchase the business, that they should be able to come in and they should start that process 3 to 4 months in advance, and maybe the purchase is contingent upon approval of the liquor license. So that just becomes part of the transaction, is that someone knows that they need to apply for a liquor license, and that the approval of the liquor license by the city council is contingent upon the sale of the business, or the opposite would be true. So it seems like this is really just, the onus is on the seller and the purchaser, not on us to change the ordinance. It's just, they just have to plan a little bit more in advance. And that, maybe it's too long, but I bet department heads would come up here and tell you that the reason it takes so long is because the applications quite often are not complete, or they're missing documentation, or they don't have their insurance. I'm sure that it takes a long time unnecessarily in certain instances, but it seems to me that we're creating a solution for a problem that doesn't exist.
I don't have finance here tonight because they're at a conference, so if you wanted to, you could hold that over and get those questions answered by finance, why it takes so long. But I
would
don't
like to
have-
hold it over, yeah.
I'd like to put a motion.
Can I say something before we do that? Because from what I'm understanding from this ordinance that was drafted, the issue of if we don't know who's going to take it over, that's part of us it's not going to come to the council to vote on it, but they're still going to apply for the license. Am I right? They're still are going to go through the process, right, Stu?
No.
Well, okay.
That's what I
So
understand.
when we talk about the process, there are 2 processes. There is the application to staff, which includes going through a background check, submitting a lot of documentation, and basically being told whether you're eligible. The step that we're discussing right now is the legislative step where it comes back to the city council, and the city council, whether it's a business that has been there serving alcohol or whether it's a new business, the way our code is set up, that the city council has to create a new license when there's been a substantial change in ownership or operatorship.
So I just want to make sure, I would like to finish, that solves that issue. So they do have to go through a background check. The issue that I'm seeing, because I went through a process with a new business owner, is that if they have to get a whole brand new license, even if everything is still the same, they have to get a whole floor plan, and it takes months to get these things done. Those are the things. The process will take long. It's not just planning ahead, because sometimes the new business owners don't get told, this is your whole process. They say, okay, do this, and then they come back a week or 2 weeks later, now do this, another 2 weeks later, now do this, and it takes a whole, I went through the whole process with someone, I got to experience it with them. That's when it takes long. So in terms of when we're saying that we don't know who's going to come in, we're going to do a background check. So that eliminates that problem, right? And if the business is staying the same, they're just transferring ownership, then everything else should stay the same, right? Same floor plan, same everything. That's something that we probably should look into. Does that stay the same? You know, I think that's.
So a question that I have for corporate counsel on this is, one, do the new owners have to get a new business license, and does that have to be approved before they would get a liquor license?
I believe they would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you'd still have some kind of delay because the closing would have to happen. Then they'd have to apply for their business license, which they could apply for their liquor license at the same time they apply for their business. But if the business license doesn't get approved, then you've already given them a liquor license, because you're saying that as soon as they buy that business, they would get the liquor license.
No, they can. What I would say, they can apply for it at that point. Go through the process, because I've seen it where business is ready to go, liquor license still
That's
not
what
ready.
they're doing now. That's what they do now. If they're following what they should be doing, the minute that they take over, they should be applying for a liquor license. The other question I have on this is, how does that affect liquor licenses with VGTs? How would those transfer?
Okay, so VGTs, you not only need a local license, you need a state license.
Right.
And I believe that if a business with VGTs transferred, they would basically have to discontinue the use of the VGTs until such time as the state approved them. And we would also need to approve them as well at the.
But what triggers VGTs, knowing that they've changed ownership, is when they apply for their liquor license.
Oh, can I finish?
State, that's how that triggers. So how would we know that people don't have illegal VGTs?
That is a good point.
Oh,
Florian.
can I finish?
About the state liquor license, don't you need a liquor license from the state? So where would that play in this process?
Mayor, I wasn't finished.
Okay, I'm sorry, Alderman Felix?
And the main thing that my concern is that I don't want that limit. Where one drops off, I don't want that limit. I think that would affect a lot of businesses, because we're from what I'm understanding, it's not just regular bars that we're talking about. We're talking about any business that would apply for a liquor license. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Whatever that class is, whatever
And
they're
they class
doing.
C and D?
It apply that the automatic reduction applies to all classes. It has been on the books. It is something that we recommend you keep on the books. It is. I can tell you that I would not say that you should eliminate that across the board. What we've done here is create a specific exception to that when you have a license that has basically, it's been a continuously operating business.
So is that in place right now, Stu? Then do we have that in place right now?
Yes, that's the reason why people have to come to you to get. Right. If you read the ordinances, it doesn't grant them the license. It creates an available license.
Okay, so
Yeah.
then
That's
fine.
It's a
Yeah.
unique thing under
Yeah.
Illinois law, but yes, that's what is in
okay.
place right
So
now.
then my concerns have been addressed on that part. The other part is that they're going to go through a background check, so I don't see what the issue is there.
Mayor, I didn't get my full time, so. So my question is about the state license then. Don't you have to apply for a state license for a liquor license? So how would that affect this whole process? And I also have one more question after that.
Yes, the new owner would be required to, at the same time as they're applying for their local liquor license, apply for a state liquor license. And at times it's a little bit of a chicken and the egg thing, because they're waiting for one to come in but the other. But yes, every new business owner would also have to obtain a state liquor license as well.
So that process wouldn't change, so that still may delay this process, and it's not on the city, it's on the state.
Well, no, what they're suggesting is that you would give them the liquor license, and if they got rejected by the state, you'd have to go back and revoke that license then.
Well, that's a shit. Now, let me finish, please. Let me finish.
I'll-
So my other question is, they keep saying that, oh, there's going to be a background check, so there's no problem. We've had liquor licenses come all the way through the whole process and come to us, and then we find a problem, that they don't even qualify for a license. It just happened a few months ago, if you guys remember. So just saying, oh, well, it doesn't matter because we're doing a background check, so those people will be weeded out, that's not true. It's been caught when it's come to city council before.
It would be the same problem all across the board.
Oh, good job. Throw them right under the bus.
That is their fault.
Alderman Guzman, it is not your turn. It's Alderman Martinez, then it'll be Alderman Hayes, and then we'll come to you.
Right, yeah, quickly, I just want to say something quickly. When things come up here, they should already been thoroughly checked. They said, we're here to either vote yes or no. So if they make a mistake, and I'm not trying to say that, throw anyone under the bus, but that's part of their job, to make sure that the things that are voted on have been checked out. And as far as you know, doing a thorough background check, whatever process is, but we also, as responsible aldermen, you should also know your constituents and go out there. I don't drink, but I go to liquor stores that are in my vicinity, and I buy bubble gum to see how everything is going. So it's not all upon the owners. It's also it's a working mechanism where you go in there, you check to make sure that they are in compliance. You know, that they are keeping their word and doing what they need. The process, I just think, is just too long. You know, but that's something that I also wanted to point out, that it's also the responsibility of the alderman to go and check on your constituents.
Alderman Hayes.
So if, I just want to make sure I understand this correctly. Under this proposal, the buyer of the business that is applying for the liquor license would not have to come before the city council to be approved? Is that right? The purchaser of this business gets to altogether skip coming before city council for approval? Is that the proposal?
That would be the result of the proposed amendment. Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure I understood that. I think the purpose, part of our job, the majority of our job is to approve even things that are thoroughly checked by staff. Payroll is a prime example of that, or contracts that are being entered into. We check it, we read it, we vote on it. It's required by ordinance. In this instance, anyone who's applying to sell liquor in this city should come before the city council, and I don't see any reason why anybody should be able to opt out of that process. That's how it's done for everyone else if they're applying for a new license. I don't understand why the purchaser of an existing business would be exempted from that. So I think we're creating more problems than we're solving here.
Okay, Alderman Guzman.
Okay, so the thing is, okay, just like Alderman Martinez and Alderman Felix said, everything is checked before it comes up to city council. And all we're doing here is a yes or no vote, and that is it. So if everything's checked, if the licensing department does everything and says there's no reason for you not to get one, so what's the problem? All we're doing is skipping here. And then for you to receive a state license, you must first receive a city license. So it comes here first and then goes to the state, because they rely on the city to do the background check and everything else, and that's how come you get biometrics here and not at the state.
Okay, I'm just going to add one thing to that, because I'm going to use an example from Alderman Bolton's ward the other week, where there was a store that wanted something, and if that would have changed ownership and we never knew about it, you would have had no input in that. And that's when, they would have passed the background check, they would have done all that. But because of reasons that you knew what the problems were with that location, you suddenly would have no input now. So I just want to point that out, that these are some of the pros and cons. Alderman Guzman.
Okay, to rebuttal that, that's how come the staff is supposed to do their job. Okay, you're supposed to look at, the police is supposed to have their opinion. There's no excessive police calls. The fire department, no somebody overdosing of too much alcohol. Those are all opinions.
That does not happen as part of a background check, because we would not be able to have all that, like how far are you going back? That's the problem. That's where the alderman can have an input and say, I know this business and I know this is a problem area. Where suddenly now you'd be taking that away. And that's something that you need to consider. I mean, you guys decide what you want, but what I'm saying is it
Then
needs
there's
to be
the answer right there. You can ask the alderman before you approve it. There you go.
Okay,
It's my ward. I can do whatever I want.
Guys, but here's the problem that we run into, and let me just bring this up with code enforcement. Because we still have aldermen up here who try to do the same thing, but we've done it in the past where we've said, certain aldermen have said to their code enforcers when we used to have an individual code enforcer in their wards, well, you can code enforce that person, but don't enforce that person because that's my friend. We cut that out, and you guys don't have a single code enforcer anymore. We rotate because that's not fair to individual residents. Everybody needs to be treated fairly. If an individual alderman is going to decide something, well, then why do we have a council?
It's not an individual deciding something. It's asking an opinion, and the alderman could say, just like you just said, well, you know what, I know this business very well. It's in my ward. I think they should, or I think they shouldn't.
Or I like them, or I don't like
Alderman
them.
Florian,
so
hold
I'm
on,
gonna
hold
do-
on. He's still talking. Okay, go ahead, Alderman Guzman.
I just said what I had to say. They could ask the opinion and then say yes or no. And then it's ultimately not, you're just asking for an opinion. That's all you're asking for. It's ultimately the city's responsibility to approve or not approve. You're just asking an opinion. Hey, what do you think? And that's it.
This is only for transfers.
Alderman Hayes?
At bottom, what's happening here is you'd be silencing the voices of the other 8 aldermen. And I don't think any of us should vote for something like that. We all want to have a say. We all have different opinions on liquor licenses, the creations of liquor license, what goes into the application, what's approved. We all have different issues with them. I understand that the approval of a liquor license, we are restricted to certain parameters under the ordinance. But at the end of the day, silencing the voices of the other aldermen just doesn't seem appropriate to me. I understand what you're getting at, and the process takes too long, and that's really frustrating, and I agree that maybe there's something that we can do about that. But I don't think that allowing people to opt out of the city council approval process is the appropriate move for us to make.
The way we've just talked about this, as liquor commissioner, it concerns me that that would be opening the door for corruption because everything is held with one person.
And
So-
it'd be putting our staff in a really, really awful position because they'd be the ones saying yes or no. And then people would be leaning on staff, whereas staff now objectively does their job, and they present us with the information. They expect us to do our homework, review the information, and then vote yes or no. That process should remain in place.
So the next question is, if we're going to get things done tonight, do we want to vote on this tonight, or do you want to hold it over and think more about it? Tell me what you want.
Yeah, well, okay, so, and just to clarify, there was a motion to hold over. I would note that this proposal kind of has multiple parts. And there is the part that you guys have been discussing, which is generally allowing someone who assumes not to come back before city council. There is also the fee part, which goes hand in hand with that, but then there is the cap on the C1 licenses. And I don't know if there was a desire before you went through all that to discuss the C1 license issue at least.
About the C1 license issue then, that it caps when somebody doesn't have a license, they close their business, they get it revoked, whatever, that opens the door for one. But I'll let you, Corporate Counsel.
And I may even defer to the clerk here because she was around when this was passed, but C1 licenses are unique. We have an ordinance that says that as of 2018, there were 7 C1 licenses created for specific locations with specific operators. That ordinance says that no additional C1 licenses can be created and that those C1 licenses cannot be transferred. and transferring is not the correct term, but no one basically can take over the operation of those. Those are unique. It is a self-imposed limit that the city council has put on itself specifically for gas stations that serve alcohol for off-premises consumption.
Can you explain what C1 is? Because Alderman Newsom, that's the gas station.
Yeah, it's a gas. They were originally part of B1, and then they were broken out into C1, which was a license just for gas stations that serve alcohol for off-premises, or not serve, that sell alcohol for off-premises consumption. Basically, it's full liquor.
C1 is full liquor.
Okay.
F1 beer and wine.
Thank you very much. Okay, yeah, aside from that very important clarification, did I get everything else right?
Well, I did.
Yes, for the most part, but the idea behind it was that they had inadvertently left off that criteria for liquor, gas, full liquor and gas. So they wanted to make sure that when it came to the next liquor cycle application, that they accommodated it. That's why it was delayed, and it's a C1. And they wanted to limit that it only went to those 7 that were established at the time, and not to broaden it. So that's why we have an F1 for gas stations now.
So we still create F1 licenses that will sell beer and wine, but the only folks who can sell all alcohol, whether it be spirits, whatever, in gas stations are those original C1 licenses, and I'm not sure, there were 7 originally granted. I'm not sure if all 7 are still in business.
And as an alderman at the time, and I think Alderman Newsom can testify to this, is one of the reasons we did that was because we didn't want these small bottles of liquor all over the community, which is the spirits. And that's what they were selling. So it was a process to try and get rid of that completely. So they were grandfathered in, and when they were done, they were done. There were no more licenses issued on that. So that's why that was put in, because we had so many problems with, Alderman Newsom she's been here a lot longer than I have, so she can verify that. You want to talk about that?
Well, we just put a limit on it because it was too many, and we were finding those little pints like you talking about all over the property, all over the neighborhood, back behind the gas stations where people would come and drink off, get them and go behind the gas station and leave them. So that's why we put a cap on them.
Also believe they were selling it to underage. They weren't following the protocol.
Alderman Guzman?
I'm not asking to create a new license. I'm just asking to keep the same 7.
Well, part of this was that's how they were supposed to go away, was as they got sold, that they would not be granted those, that it would just be beer and wine and gas stations. That was what the council at that time felt. Any questions? I thought I heard, nope, okay.
Call the question.
Okay. There was a motion to hold it over, I believe. Alderman Florian, did you make the motion to hold it over? They said there was a motion, and I think you were the only one who mentioned it, so who made the motion?
It was Alderman Florian. She wanted to hold it over.
Okay. Do you want to, did we get a second on that?
Holdover does not require a second.
Okay. Do you still want to hold it over, or what do you want to do?
We'll go ahead and vote.
Okay. I had the first and second for the ordinance, right? Correct? Okay. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
So, wait, Mayor, so we're voting on
What
the
are we voting on?
ordinance
You're
as
voting on the
presented.
way it is right now.
Yeah.
That the ordinance is amending the various provisions of the Waukegan Liquor Control Ordinance and Ordinance 18046 regarding Class C1 licenses.
We're voting to take it away from the city council.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what this would be.
Put it in the hands of one single alderman who
No.
can say yes or no.
As is right now.
Well, it still would go through the process, but you're still
But
going to
ultimately,
Let's vote on it.
have to come to the council. It's
Let's
just at the
vote on it.
suggestion of the alderman of that ward.
And just for transfers, just for transfers.
Okay, roll call, please. Madam Clerk, roll call. It's in the entirety. Yeah.
Alderman Bolton,
No.
Alderman Guzman,
Aye.
Alderman Martinez,
Aye.
Alderman Felix,
Aye.
Alderman Newsom,
Nay.
Alderman Turner,
Aye.
Alderman Donnerworth,
No.
Alderman Florian.
no.
Alderman Hayes.
No.
5 to
Under the rules of the Committee of the Whole, it did not get 5 votes, so it stays here. It doesn't need 6. We decided the rules are if you get 5 votes in favor, you move on. This did not get 5 votes in favor, so this has been dealt with.
So it's not getting out of the
It
committee of
is
the
not,
whole.
it does not advance to the City Council.
Okay, on to old business. Item A, this is just a discussion of the establishment of policy for honorary street signs. And this is on the packet. So, Corporate Counsel, would you like to explain that?
Yeah, if we can go to the next slide. So Alderman Turner has requested a discussion of the city's process for posting honorary street signs. The city has not ever adopted a formal policy for street signs. There was an ordinance that was prepared by, at the time, Assistant Corporation Counsel in 2017. It was not adopted. Since that time, there has only been the application form, which requires some parameters, but we have begun we've begun preparing a draft policy, but we'd like some input from you on the issues that we've identified up here, which would be the number of signs to be allowed in each ward, the number of signs to allow for each honoree. Is it just one? Is it one on each end of a block? What the fee should be. The fee is currently $300 to prepare the sign, to have the sign printed, and then they get the sign at the end when it's taken down, they being the applicant. Criteria for acceptance by the city. Right now, you have to have had certain significant contributions to the community, and to Waukegan's history or its residents. And then what the review process should be. Should it be staff only? Should it go to a committee of the city council, or should it go to the full council? It's a lot of questions.
A lot of questions, but because we don't have a policy, it needs to be talked about and how you want to do it. Because one of the things that, as more and more people want honorary signs, do we want 5, 6 signs on a street post and making it confusing for people to know what street it is? And if we're going to honor multiple people, do you want it where they're only up for a year and then those signs come down? These are all things that, believe it or not, we don't have that in our ordinances. So there's some tough decisions. Tonight might be the discussion, and then we kind of put something together of what you're looking at. Again, some of this, as we all know, Waukegan roads are very different. Some are a couple blocks long, some are very long. It's hard to do long and fast rules on these things, but we're turning this to you and looking for suggestions.
And I'll make 2 quick comments. One, we cannot put up honorary signs on streets that we don't control, so IDOT roads or county roads, we can't put them up. And then 2, I would highly recommend, and the police and fire would recommend, that police and fire get to veto a location where it would be difficult, where putting up an extra sign might be confusing or would actually make traffic wayfinding hard. But those are really the only kind of limits that we would suggest.
I'm
Beyond
sorry.
that,
You said IDOT roads and what else?
county roads.
Would be like 120, Grand Avenue, Washington is our road. Yeah, no, Washington is us. Portion, yes, portion. Green Bay would be, you couldn't do any signs on Green Bay. So those are some of the ones that, so your main thoroughfares, you would not be able to do them on. But again, like I said, roads are different, so you have to decide on a 2-block road, how many signs could you have? And then you'd have other roads that, you know, are longer. What do you want to do? I mean, they're not thoroughways, so they're not super long, but Alderman Hayes?
So maybe it's like a threshold question here. Do we need to have honorary street signs? I mean, it's a nice gesture, and there's amazing contributors to our community, and they should be honored. But maybe before we go through developing a policy, we should discuss whether we even think that honorary street signs are necessary. If we think that that's the case, then okay, fine. But it is a cost to the city and by extension to the taxpayers. And while it may seem like a bit of a rounding error given our budget, it still is a hard cost to the city. We have to maintain the signs, we have to put them up. So I don't think that they should be up indefinitely. When Alderman Guzman nominates me to have an honorary street sign, which I'm sure he will do in the near future.
Not till he give it to me first.
Maybe in the second ward. I don't think he's going to want it there for all time. And he's not going to want to have his tax dollars go to keep maintaining Thomas J. Hayes right there in the middle of the second ward.
That sounds pretty
So,
good. That sounds good.
Boulevard, I'd like to be a boulevard if that's possible.
Man, he greedy.
But in all seriousness, I think that we have to take into consideration the cost. So first, the question might be, do we even want these? Second is, I think the city should at least recover its costs, and there should be a reasonable time limit on the amount of time that a street sign could be up.
I got a question.
Alderman Bolton was second, Alderman Florian was third, and then Alderman Guzman. Alderman Bolton?
I believe in order for us to answer Alderman Hayes' question, we need to understand the origin. Why was this originally started? What has been the history?
So it went back a long time ago with legendary signs. So you have certain ones that have been there forever and have not been taken down because they were just there and nobody took them down. Then we came up with the idea, well, we can't have all these signs, so we went to honorary signs. And the ordinance is written that it's for 1 year. The hard part is what happened with the legendary signs is now we've got to have a whole calendar for Public Works that tells them when that sign went up and when it comes down the next year. And keeping track of all those, it's a lot of Public Works time that they could be doing other things. So that's kind of the background on it. And again, being honest about it, we did not get the requests that we get nowadays. So that's just a change.
And so my last part of my question, I understand the cost is so that it's being paid for.
Yes, and it's not
It's not a benefit to the city, right?
Wow.
So constituents, we need to understand that. That's not money we're pocketing. That's to cover the cost for the sign to be made. That's why the 300.
Because there's multiple signs made.
Is it every year? Clarification.
It's not your turn. You're not part of the discussion, Mr. McLemore.
Right now, the cost is $300 per sign one time.
No.
And what the policy states is that they're going to stay up for 1 year and then they are taken down and given to the applicant. There are some signs that may not have been taken down as, I don't know if they're legendary or legacy or whatever we call them.
We dropped the ball.
Yeah, drop the ball, maybe.
Just drop
the
that's
ball.
accurate.
Mayor?
Next was Alderman Florian.
Thank you, Mayor. So my office is in Park City, and recently, just 2 blocks from me, they changed the name of a street. Now, we're talking a little different here because it's just honorary, but it is an honorary name. It was a certain street forever, then they put up this honorary chief, blah, blah, blah. It's like 3 lines long, and there's no houses on that street, so nobody had to change their address, but the people who use that street to tell people how to get to their house now suddenly have to talk about a different street. And the mayor made a good point. If we end up with 5 of them on one pole, in addition to the real name of the street, it's going to be a little confusing for people. So I do think we need some kind of parameters around this. And the other thing we have to consider is the meaning of certain names changes over time, right? Like, I went to Thomas Jefferson Junior High School. Well, that doesn't exist anymore because
That's right.
suddenly that name was unacceptable, right? And Webster Junior High, the people that went there, that school doesn't exist anymore because suddenly that name was unacceptable. So I think talking about putting up a sign and leaving it in perpetuity is a bad idea. I think, now, and I'm not saying that most of the people that get honorary signs are going to be found to be slaveholders, but just in general, things change over time. People might not even remember who the person was down the line. So I think we do need to have some kind of parameters around where we put them, how many, and for how long.
Okay, Alderman Guzman?
I agree with Alderman Hayes. 1 year, that should be it. I think we should actually not do the whole calendar thing and find out what day you were put on. Let's say, it would say, just pick a day, say June 1st, all of them come down. Except for the ones that were approved within the year. Some
You're
people
still
will get a
doing the
year and a half,
calendar.
some people will get a year. But it can't be different calendar days. But pick a day and all of them come down. 1 year, thank you very much. Even the legacy signs, all comes down.
We get feedback
Everything.
from our department head, Chris Garland. What do you think about all this?
Well, wait. Before we bring Chris up, I want to call on Alderman Martinez.
Okay.
Alderman Felix, and then did you
All
have
right,
something,
so
Alderman Turner?
I have to
And I'd
piggyback.
like to talk to it. Jeez.
I have to piggyback with Alderman Hayes. I think we should just do away altogether because, I mean, I've never seen a city with so many honorary signs. I mean, I was taken aback when I first got in the council. I seen so many signs, and I thought they were all like signed from the mayor or dedicated, but we just have too many signs. And I think that people are missing out on the big picture. I think that there's other ways of honoring those beloved people or people that get the signs. There's other ways that we can honor besides having signs for them. But I just think that we have too many. Our discussion here, you know, we're going back and forth. So it's just difficult. I just think that the best idea is just to get rid of them and honor them some other way.
Okay. Again, I will remind you, this is not your time to talk. This is their discussion. Alderman Felix was next, and then Alderman Turner.
I'm for both, kind of like what Alderman Hayes said. Either get rid of it altogether, then we don't have to worry about this issue. There's other ways to honor people. Or if we decide to keep it, then a year is plenty, and then you could give the street to the family. I think something, a nice gesture, you have something in a history that you can keep to the family. The family gets to keep that. I think that's as far as the city should do for these kind of things. Maybe on our end, we can create a hall of fame for the city. That's something cool, but in terms of having, different signs just being named all over the place, I would like a sign named after me, honestly, but, obviously, I don't think it's something right for a city to do,
Mr. McLemore, that is the last time I'm going to say anything. This is not a discussion with the audience. This is their discussion. Alderman Turner.
Thank you. So you guys have mentioned several different things that I think that we need to consider, but I want to remind you that these are honorary signs and they are intended to be a marker, a historical marker. In the example Alderman Florian gave, where schools no longer exist, so you got a sign up that refers to a school that doesn't exist. It's a historical marker. I don't think there should be any limitation on how many signs can go into a ward. That's how this discussion evolved, right? That was the initial impetus of this discussion. And these signs are easily distinguishable. You're not going to confuse an honorary sign with a regular street sign, so I don't know where that idea comes from. As far as, and I want to remind folks that what we're talking about here I want to differentiate between a citizen's request that the honorary street sign be in place for whatever reason, and the city of Waukegan, the council, choosing to post honorary street signs on city property, right? So there's a difference. There's got to be a distinguishment there. I am not in favor of charging a fee for these signs. There is, Mr. McLemore stated, they're honorary. The intent is to honor some significant person, even if in the case of a family member, just say, hey, I'd like my dad to have one. If the council agrees, and again, we're voting on this one on a case-by-case basis. So if the council agrees, put the sign up and let's say that it's not an exorbitant cost. And I think where you would get in some challenges is where you're asking the Public Works Department to put one up, keep track of how long it's been up, and then go take it up and down, up and down. Also, it was mentioned about multiple signs on a single pole. If you want some limitation, that could be, or you could just say, hey, there's already a sign there, let's put it somewhere else. Or you could just proliferate, a dozen signs on it. What difference does it make? As long as you have the street sign, the name visible, I don't see where it's a matter of importance. So what I suggest is, because there are so many bullet items that were raised, I think we should continue this discussion. And if everyone could send to, I guess, Attorney Stu, the bullet item of their concern, and then we can bring this back for further discussion. That would be my recommendation.
So.
Holdover?
Yeah, it would be a holdover then, right?
No, I guess
Of sorts, it is.
it's
yeah.
sorts. Basically, you're saying that you want to continue, the discussion on another day. You're not holding it over to block it. You're holding it over because you want to.
We don't need to hold it over. Just
Just move
we're
on.
overcomplicating this,
Yeah.
so
Right.
we can just continue discussion at a future date.
Okay, so is
I'm
it
sorry.
okay if it goes on the next committee of the whole then? Okay,
I'm sorry, Mayor, may I say?
sure.
I just want you guys to be mindful that I have an application here that a young lady paid for, an honorary sign. So we need to resolve whatever we're going to do so that I can explain to her what's going on. She already paid for it. She has a date that she wants it to go up for her son. So we need to
Can't
make
we
a
just do
decision.
it like we normally are now until such time as we change it? Yeah.
I
mean-
think there had been a discussion that we weren't going to accept any more until we had a policy, but that was a limit you guys put on. That was a suggestion that came from the council. You can disregard that as well.
I think we still continue to honor them until we come up with a policy. Okay.
I agree.
Okay. So just let's honor that one until, such time as there is a policy that they've come up with.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Garland. Okay, the next one is an ordinance amending the Waukegan Code of Ordinances regarding terms of members of boards and commissions of the city. So this was something that Alderman Guzman brought up, that there should be a limit of 2 terms for boards that are voluntary to be on.
I'd like to hold this over until the next committee of the whole, please, because this is going to be a very long one.
And just for clarification, the next committee of the whole will be a continued discussion of the revenue allocation program, so it would be probably not this one,
That's
but
fine.
the next one. after
No
that.
problem.
Okay.
It's no hurry.
Item C, an ordinance amending Section 21-120 of the Waukegan Code of Ordinances to remove the parking restriction on north and south sides of Clayton Street between County Street and Genesee Street. Do you want to bring up the slide on that one?
Okay, if we can go, the next stage. Okay, unfortunately, this looks really small when it's up here, but Alderman Turner has requested that the existing no parking restriction on both the, could you click one more time on that slide? There's a little animation that I want. Very perfect. Oh, there you go. Okay. Alderman Turner has requested that the existing no parking restriction on both the north and south sides of Clayton between County going east to Genesee be removed. The no parking restrictions are established in Section 21-120, parking prohibited at all times on specific streets. So what this would do is that it would actually change the language of that to, instead of saying Clayton Street, both sides between County Street and Sheridan Road, it would just say Clayton Street, both sides between Genesee Street and Sheridan Road. The one other aspect here is that if you just delete that, then it becomes open parking with no limits on it. So if there was a desire to basically turn it into parking that was similar to elsewhere in the downtown, you would either have to, and I'm not sure how much of downtown is limited in time to 1 or 2 hours, but we would have to make an amendment to that provision to add that. Or if we were going to have it be metered parking, we would also have to make a quick amendment to that. So discussion items would be, do you want parking on this area? Do you want a time limit on it? And do you want it metered? Thanks.
Yes.
If I may?
Alderman Turner?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for explaining that, Stuart. Excuse me, so again, here the impetus for this is there's a juice bar at the corner of Genesee and Clayton. They have no parking at all for their customers as it is now. They've requested that we open up those parking spaces. And if you look at that section, that block, there's only 2 businesses there, the juice bar and Nightshade and Dark on the north side of the street. Nightshade and Dark has a food truck parked out in front now. What I'd like to do, at the request of the business owner and concurrence of Alderman Felix, is to open this up for parking. Now, the interesting point that Stuart made is, what do we do about time limitation? Earlier, we had discussions, several of the aldermen and I suggested 1 hour parking, but I think that may lend itself to confusion. And perhaps the best solution would be to go ahead and put parking meters in there and continue, so we've got a continuation of current parking policy, if you will, from what's already on Genesee Street. So that would be my recommendation.
Okay.
Parking meters in front of or along Clayton Street.
Chief of Staff, weren't we going to put another food truck area over there as well? Was that one of them? I'm drawing a blank. That's why I'm asking you, because I'm
Yes,
just
Mayor
drawing a blank.
Taylor did discuss it with all the aldermen. They agreed. Across the street from Nightshade, in front of the Waukegan parking lot, there is space for 2 spots, and the team has decided that would be great to add when we do add more mobile vending locations, right in front of across the street from the public library, the public spot, not in front of Jack Benny Plaza. That is where Alderman Turner would like the parking spaces to be on both sides of the street.
Wait a minute, hold on. I just thought of something. You know, often with the Genesee Theater has a show, right? Often the police officer parks their car right there in front of Jack Benny Plaza so that they can have a visual line of sight to the front of the theater and that whole intersection. It just occurred to me as you were speaking, George. So maybe we ought to leave that as is, the no parking, and that allows a space for that officer to park.
To be clear, you only want the one side of the street from Genesee up until Nightshade on the north side of the street parking only. That's the only parking you're adjusting with this ordinance?
No. I'm suggesting just as we spoke about, but only right at the corner of on the south side of Clayton, right at the corner at Genesee, is there one space where the police officers often park their vehicles.
But the food trucks will take those other 2 up to...
Behind it.
Right.
Yeah.
So there won't be any parking on that side. The only parking then that will be available if you take the Jack Benny Plaza away is the north side of the street.
So the location where the food trucks are allowed is a no parking area?
Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that. Okay, yeah, well, that's what yeah.
Okay.
Police can park wherever they want.
Okay.
Basically. I mean, they just got to pull down there and they'll get in there early.
All right. Did I answer that, Mayor?
Yes. The other thing is there would be times of year that we would not allow, like when we do our Christmas tree lighting, you wouldn't want people parking right smack in front because you'd have like a fire truck or someone there too.
Yeah, we could always put a no
Yes,
parking
just
today
like we do
thing
for
or
other
whatever.
things.
So are we going to amend this to include the parking meters before it comes to city council?
I would recommend you do.
I would too.
Okay. So Does anybody want to make the motion with the amended piece in there?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
So can we clarify what the motion is on the table, what we're,
So we're adding parking only to the north side
okay?
With meters.
with meters. And then right across the current food truck locations, those are going to be designated for food trucks as well. South side.
With no meters on the food truck.
Yeah.
Yes.
Council? What he's saying is if you look at the diagram, the top line that's currently red, that is what Alderman Turner is looking to open up to allow parking.
No. That what you're looking at is on the east side of Genesee, right by the Genesee Theater.
Yeah, it's the green
The
one.
green. Look at the green. Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're absolutely right. I'm sorry. You're right. It's that section that's right below the nightshade and dark. It says the first Clayton to the right. That portion, he wants that to be open to parking. The lower line will remain no parking. No, because that's where he wants the police officers to be located.
Yeah.
Right. I was.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good
Okay.
point.
So the only thing, all of what he's saying is that we're going to open up all the parking from Clayton, Genesee through county is open only across the street from Nightshades and Dark. That will be where we'll be placing at a later time mobile food vendor locations. Okay? I hope that cleared it up.
Okay, so the north side between County and Genesee, open parking, metered. On the south side between County and Genesee, designated as a food truck parking area where people cannot park otherwise?
Only in front of the Waukegan city property. That's right across the street from the library. That's it, 2 spots. The rest will be metered parking spots,
Alderman
So
Florian?
meter on the south side then.
both sides.
Alderman Florian?
Isn't there a food truck spot in front of Nightshade now?
There's 2.
And
it's gonna
that
be
won't
mirrored.
change?
That won't change,
Okay, so it won't be the whole length?
no.
Okay, all right.
That's what Alderman Turner is trying to open up. The other portions will all be metered parking spaces. I'm sorry, was that clear, Alderman? All right, thanks.
Okay.
Is that clear for you, Stu?
I'm sorry.
As long as everybody here understands it, I can watch the tape afterwards.
Okay. So it basically is an ordinance amending Section 21-120 of the City Code of Ordinances to remove the parking restriction on the north and south sides of Clayton between County and Genesee, with the exceptions of the food trucks. And we'll be adding those parking spaces, metered parking spaces, I think is how we would word that. Does that all make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, roll call, please, Madam Clerk? Wait.
The whole intention of this is to open up parking for that juice bar. So if we put metered parking there 2 hours, maybe those in front of the juice bar should be some other time limit, 15-minute loading, a half. What do you think, Victor?
How about we pass this, and then let's see how it goes, and then we'll revisit it.
Easy peasy.
We don't want to make
agree.
signs and then
Well,
redoing
I do
them
have a
because it's
standard.
money.
Do the metered parking spaces in downtown have a time limit on them?
Yeah.
So if you keep, but if you keep putting money in, okay. So a car can stay there as long as they keep refilling it then. So
I'm worried about if they're doing pickups and only need 15-minute parking, they'd have to pay for at least half
I
an
come
hour.
down Genesee Street, I look over there, I say, oh, juice bar's open. And I swing in there, I run in, I get a smoothie, and I stand right there in front of the door, and I drink it, throw the cup away, and leave. I mean, literally less than 15 minutes.
Oh.
Other customers, you know, they do have seating inside. They sit there and they sip there. You know, so I don't I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking, maybe we
One
should.
parking spot, I think, at 15 minutes, but you don't want to do too many more than that.
I don't know. Let's just get it, what Victor said. Let's just get this done, see how it works out, and we can come back and amend it later.
Okay. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Alderman Bolton.
Aye.
Guzman.
Aye.
Martinez.
Aye.
Felix.
Aye.
Newsom.
Aye.
Turner.
Aye.
Donnerworth.
All right.
Florian.
Aye.
Hayes.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Yeah, I motion we have a bathroom break
Yeah,
before.
I think, is it okay if we hold these others over to the next meeting?
I so move.
But that's going to be a big discussion. Okay, is that okay to hold these over to the next? Okay, so there's D and B. We actually made good progress tonight. So D and B will be held over to the next one. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Alderman Florian, second was Alderman Newsom. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, be back by council meeting.